It's a great zchus to have been invited once again here at Shevach High School to speak to all of you on Erev Shabbos, Shabbos Mevorchim, Chodesh Kislev, which should be hopefully a very happy month, and of course Erev Shabbos Parshas Chayesara. Last Friday, Klal Yisrael, especially the Yidden in America, lost the Gadol Hador in America, the Paysach Hador. As Rabbi Yashiv spoke about Rabbi Dovid Feinstein, he called him the Pe'er Hador, the splendor of the generation. He died just this past Friday. And the Gemara tells us in Brachas, Agra de Hespeda deluye. The reward of giving a hesped, or the purpose of giving a hesped, is to cry and to make people cry. Laharim koil, sheyivku hashemim, that those who hear should cry and understand the loss. However, when Rabbi Aaron Kotler, Zecher Tzadik Levracha, was giving a hesped for his father-in-law, Rabbi Zalman Meltzer, he teached the Gemara in a different way, and he teached it like this: Agra de Hespeda, the reward and the purpose of giving a hesped, deluye, he said, comes from the word deli, like a pail. And just like a pail draws from a well, the purpose of a hesped is for all of us to draw from the well springs of the great person and see how we can learn from that person and how we can change and we can grow. And this past week, on Monday, when my Rabbi, Rabbi Krohn, Shlita gave a hesped on Rabbi Dovid Feinstein, he started by saying something that is so remarkable. I told him, I never heard this before, but it's so obvious, it's so amazing. And he said that the word hesped, which means eulogy, has the same Hebrew letters as the word hefsed, which means loss. And that's the purpose of a hesped. The purpose of a hesped is to bring out the tremendous loss that a family has lost, a community, and Klal Yisrael. And that's what I would like to talk about today. The loss of Rabbi Dovid Feinstein, Zecher Tzadik v'Kadosh Levracha. Rabbi Dovid was born in 1929, and he passed away obviously in 2020, and that means that he was 91 years old. Now, some people might think, well, a man is 91, what's there to cry about? He lived a full life. If a young man passes away, a young woman passes away, that's something to cry about. But when you think about it, the amount of Torah that is now no longer accessible, the amount of wisdom that is now no longer accessible, the brachas that he used to give that was so powerful and so potent, and the davening that he did for others that was so effective, all that is lost. So it's true, he was 91, but now look what we have lost. All those things, that's really the hefsed. That's what this hesped is all about. To understand a little bit of his life and to see how we can learn and how we can grow from it. So I want to share with you some stories that I believe every one of us, from each of these stories that I'm going to tell, can learn a great lesson. Many years ago, it was Rosh Hashanah in Mesivta Tferes Yerushalayim, where Rabbi Dovid was the Rosh Hashiva. He had taken over from his great father, Rabbi Moshe Feinstein. And it was on Rosh Hashanah during Kriyas HaTorah. And a man, his wife, walked in with a little baby. I guess she wanted to hear Tkiyas. But she needed a private room to take care of her child. And the man knew that the only private room that was available was Rabbi Dovid Feinstein's office, but it was locked. So during Kriyas HaTorah, he went over to Rabbi Dovid Feinstein, and he said, my wife needs a private room to be with the baby. Can we borrow the key for your office? And Rabbi Dovid said, of course. And he took out the key, and he gave it to him. They went through the laning, there was the laning, the haftarah, and then, of course, right after laning and haftarah, then they get ready for Tkiyah Shofar. And everybody had said the brachas, not the brachas, everybody had said the tefillos that you say 7 times, the Lam Natseach. And everybody's quiet now because the Baal Tekeah is going to say the brachas before Tkiyah Shofar. Rabbi Dovid Feinstein was the Makri. Makri is the one who calls out Tkiyah, Shvarim Trua, Tkiyah. So he motions to the Baal Tekeah that he shouldn't start, he shouldn't say the brachas yet. And Rabbi Dovid Feinstein is looking around the Beis Medrash. Nobody knows who he's looking for. And finally, then he sees that young man who had borrowed the key, and he calls him over. And when the man comes over, Rabbi Dovid says to him quietly, is your wife finished in the office? Is she able to come out? Because I don't want to start at Tkiyas until she comes out and she's able to hear them. Rabbi Dovid Feinstein, the Gadol Ador, he's got 200 people in a Beis Medrash. All he's thinking about is that woman who had to be in there with her baby and that she should not miss the Tkiyas. And I wrote this story because I just heard it last week. I was amazed. And I said that greatness can be measured sometimes by small gestures. That's sensitivity. That's what we can learn from. Here's another great story. Somebody came in, they were going to daven Ma'ariv in the middle of the week. Let's say it was 10 o'clock at night. And in a minute they were going to start Ma'ariv, and a man comes over to Rabbi Dovid and says, can I ask the Rosh Hashiva a Shaila right after Ma'ariv? So Rabbi Dovid looks at his clock, he says, we have 1 minute till Ma'ariv. Ask me the Shaila now. Okay, the man knew he couldn't get through the whole Shaila in 1 minute, but he started asking the Shaila, and then of course they said V'hu Rachum, and everybody daven Ma'ariv, including Rosh Hashiva and this man. Afterwards, he came over to Rabbi Dovid and he started saying the Shaila again, and he had to repeat everything that he said because he wanted Rabbi Dovid to understand the Shaila in all its clarity. And Rabbi Dovid gave him advice. And then afterwards, the man said to Rabbi Dovid Feinstein, he said, Rosh Hashiva, I hope you don't mind my asking, but why did you ask me to begin asking the Shaila before? You knew we had only 1 minute. There was no way I could ask you the whole Shaila. Listen to what he said. He said, I knew I would be davening Shemoneh Esrei. And in Shemoneh Esrei we say, Atachonin li Adam Das, that Hashem should give us wisdom. I wanted to daven that I should have siyata d'shmaya to be able to give you the proper advice like this. If I knew what the topic of the Shaila was, I would be able to daven better and more properly and more exact of what I needed. To me, that is so fabulous. Here's a man who's a Gadol Ador, who knows so much, who has probably advised thousands. But he doesn't take the koyach on himself that he's going to give the advice. No, he knows, I got to daven. And that's a great lesson for all of us. Whether you're a teacher here, or whether you're a student, everybody at one point in life, and often, is asked for advice. And you just can't give advice. You have to ask every day, I have decisions to make. Please, give me the right mindset that I should make the right decision, that I should be able to give advice properly. Because giving advice is a tremendous, tremendous responsibility. And Rabbi Dovid understood that, and that's why he wanted to ask the Shaila, Atachonin li Adam Das. There's another thing that to me is very precious. Now, many of you have heard me speak about tefillah, and there was a person who came to Rabbi Dovid Feinstein who said that he was being accused of certain illegalities, and he was afraid that he could be in trouble legally, but he said, I'm not guilty, I'm telling you, I'm not guilty. What should I do? And listen to what Rabbi Dovid said, because I've said this so many times. He said you should say Al Tira Mipachat Pisayim, say it 3 times a day. And we've spoken about that many times. The importance of after V'al Kinekava to say Al Tira Mipachat Pisayim. Do not be afraid of sudden terror. Why? Ki Imonu Kel, because Hashem is with us. And of course, the first time that I heard the importance of this was right here in Shevach High School, the day after 9/11, when Rebbetzin Reifer, Allah Shalom, spoke to the girls and said to them, after 9/11, the first thing that she said was that we should always say that. And I've been saying it since then, 3 times a day. But Rabbi Dovid added something. I can't get over this. He said, don't say it during Kaddish. In other words, after Olenu V'al Kinekava, the Baal Shachos or whoever it is, and the Yisayimim or whoever's saying Kaddish says Kaddish, but you're saying Al Tira because it's right after Aleinu and Al Kinekava. He said, don't say it during Kaddish. And that's great, because after all, you should be saying Ameni Heshmei Rabbah, and you should be davening Al Tira and thinking about it, thinking about the words. But if you're answering Kaddish, you're not going to be thinking about the words. So that caveat, that which he added, is something I never thought about. And that's really what's tremendous. There was another thing that was said recently, I can't get over it. He had his little office, and if he ever needed something from the secretary, he would go to the secretary's office and ask her to do something. And she said to him so many times, Rosh Hashiva, why don't you just call me on the phone, I'll come to you. And listen to what he said. He said, if I need you, I have to come to you. Not you have to come to me. I'm the one that needs you. So Derech Eretz is that I should come to you. That's really what greatness is all about. That's what sensitivity is all about. That's why he waited for that lady with the tkiyas. And that's why as we said, he wanted to daven atachoinen before Ma'ariv to be able to give the right advice, and he gave the advice of Altira. He was a very practical person also, and I love this. Every morning he would eat breakfast. He ate breakfast across the street in a little diner or a pizza shop. And many mornings he did a crossword puzzle. It wasn't a Jewish crossword puzzle, believe me. And one of the Talmidim asked him, Rabbi, why every morning you do a crossword puzzle? He said, yeah, because it sharpens the brain. If you want to know why my wife is so smart, I'm telling you, every morning she does crossword puzzles. I mean, I don't do them, but maybe that's a reflection, whatever. But the point is, he understood. You have to have a sharp brain, and whatever's going to sharpen your brain, if it's a kosher thing, by all means, you should do it. But I just want to tell you this thing that I just cannot get over. There's a man by the name of Ari Hirsch, and he has a newspaper. It's called Views, V-U-E-S. And it's not a newspaper like, the Wall Street Journal, with highfalutin news and editorials. And it's more of a folksy type of newspaper. And many, many times, he will call, let's say, 20 or 30 or even 50 people. He asks them the same question. And he prints the various answers. And 2 years ago, he contacted about 50 different people. I was one of them. And he asked everybody the same question. And think about this for a second. It's a great question. If you had the opportunity to invite 3 people to dinner at your home, anybody from the beginning of time until today, which 3 people would you invite? So, everybody gave different answers. I'll tell you what I said. My 3 that I would invite was Dovid HaMelech, Rashi, and Rabbi Chaim Moshe Gruzinski. Rabbi Chaim Moshe Gruzinski was the Gadol Ador in Vilna at the time when the Chavetz Chaim was there. He was like the Zaidi of Klal Yisrael, and I always loved him. I once dreamt about him, that I was sitting next to him on Yom Kippur in Shul. So I love the man. So those were the 3 that I said. And different people said different things. Other Rosh Yeshivas said they wanted the Ger Rebbe or the Maral, whatever. Some people said Feinstein. Everybody had different things. And he asked Reb Dovid Feinstein the question. And you know what Reb Dovid Feinstein said? I get the chills as I'm about to tell it to you. He said, if I can invite any 3 people that I wanted for dinner, I would invite 3 poor people. Could you imagine that? And when Ari Hirsch called to tell me that that's what Reb Dovid gave the answer, I said to him, you know something? You've got to put that first. Because 49 out of 50 people, including myself, were only thinking about themselves. Who would I have the covet? Who could I gain from to invite to my house? And of course I said those 3 people, and others said other 3 people. But that's not what Reb Dovid was thinking. He was thinking, if I can invite 3 people, who can I do a favor for? The 3 poor people. That's what greatness is all about. And so, on this Erev Shabbos, I would like to encourage every single one of you, try, if you can, either get Hamodia, or get Mishpacha, or get Yated, Ami, whatever. The FJJ, anything that you can get to read about Rav Dovid Feinstein. Because you will grow from this man. Of course, he learned Shas, they say, over 100 times. And his father, Rab Moshe, in one of the Tshuvas, writes that my son, Rab Dovid, agrees with the Svara that I said. Imagine, Rab Moshe Feinstein, the Gadol Ador, is saying, you know how I know I'm right? Because my son, Rab Dovid, also agrees with this Svara. So, I don't expect any of the girls here to gain from the fact that Rab Dovid Feinstein learned Shas 100 times, and he knew halacha back and forth. That's very important, but you will see what kind of family person he was. You will see what kind of person of chesed he was, what kind of person of sensitivity he was, how he davened, and how he cared for even the simple people. I saw it myself. Numerous times I had brisson in Tiferes Yerushalayim, and Rab Dovid was the sandik, and it was a tremendous chus to have him as a sandik. And he was a very simple person, a very quiet person. But in Tiferes Yerushalayim, many, many times, there were some people very poor and very neglected. They would sit in the back. Nobody looked at them. Life had passed them by. But Rab Dovid would go over and say Shalom Aleichem to them. And Rab Dovid would answer their questions. And he made them feel special. And one time, Rab Dovid said, people asked him, why do you do that? These are so forlorn people. There are other people that could talk to them. And he said, that's my ticket to Gan Eden. Imagine here's a person who knew Shas, who knew Kula. And what does he say? Is this Tikkun Eden? Helping and caring for forlorn people. So today is just 1 week since his P'tira. Of course, so much will be written about him. And again, I can't encourage you enough to read about him, because he was a regular, normal human being with a great marriage, who loved his children and grandchildren. I love this answer. Somebody asked him, who's your favorite grandchild? He said, the one that's sitting on my lap. That was so special. In other words, any kid, any child or grandchild or great-grandchild that was sitting on his lap, he made that kid feel that that was his favorite. And that's what we have to learn from this great person. The small gestures of great people make them who they are. I just want to end by saying this pasuk, which is the appropriate pasuk to say when somebody gives a hesped. It's in Yeshaya Chof Hei, pasuk Ches. And the pasuk says, Bila hamoves lanetzach. Death should be wiped out forever. Umocha Hashem alakim dima mi'al kol ponim. Hashem should wipe away tears from every face. V'cherpas amo yosir, the shame of his nation, Hashem should remove. Me'al kol haaretz, from the whole earth. Ki Hashem diber, because Hashem gave that order. May it come in our time that tears should be wiped from our faces, that we should feel no more shame, but we should be elevated and be zeicha to see Mashiach and Tchias HaMeisim, and be reunited with all the great people that we lost. Good Shabbos and Good Chodesh. You've just